The sun burned mercilessly over the dusty town of Red Rock, a settlement known more for its cruelty than its justice. Men gathered near the wooden platform at the town square, voices echoing like dry rattlesnakes. It was auction day, where cattle, land, and sometimes broken souls were sold. Today, however, the whispers carried something different. They caught one of the Apache, someone murmured, spitting into the dirt. A woman. All eyes turned as she was dragged forward in chains. Her wrists were bound, her braids dusty but defiant, her gaze cutting through the crowd like a blade. The Apache woman stood tall despite the bruises, shoulders bare, and eyes burning with a quiet fury that dared anyone to look too long. The sheriff's voice cracked through the heat. One Apache woman, strong, young, could work or serve. Let's start the bid at $20. Silence. The sound of flies buzzed louder than the crowd. No one wanted her. No one dared. In a town that hated her kind, bidding meant ridicule, or worse, death. The sheriff grew impatient, wiping sweat from his brow. Come on now. Who'll take her? $10. Still nothing. Some men laughed. Others looked away. To them she was less than human. But among them stood a man who hadn't laughed. A quiet rancher, broad-shouldered, sunburnt, with calm eyes that carried storms he never spoke of. His name was Luke Carver, a man of few words and fewer friends. He had lost much in the border wars, and yet something in him refused to let hatred win. When he saw the Apache woman's face, something in her silent strength reminded him of someone he once loved and lost. The sheriff slammed his boot. $5 then.
Someone take her off my hands.
Again silence, until Luke stepped forward. The crowd turned. Whispers grew sharp. Carver? Has he lost his damn mind? The sheriff squinted. You sure, Luke? She's Apache. Ain't no one gonna help. You if she turns on you. Luke's voice was calm but firm. I'll take her. A murmur swept through the crowd like wind over dry grass. He handed the sheriff $5, dusty, crumpled notes that had taken him weeks to earn. The sheriff smirked, muttering, Your funeral, and tossed Luke the chains. Luke didn't grab them. Instead, he walked up to the woman and looked into her eyes. For the first time, someone didn't look down on her. He took out his knife and cut the chains. The crowd gasped. The woman's wrists fell free, her expression unreadable. You're free, he said softly. But she didn't run. She simply stared at him, her dark eyes filled with suspicion and confusion. Why? She whispered. Her English was rough, accented, but her meaning was sharp. Luke hesitated, then said, Because nobody deserves to be sold. The crowd had already begun to scatter, losing interest. But for Luke and the woman, the moment lingered like thunder waiting to break. He nodded toward his horse. You can come with me if you want. Safer than staying here. She didn't answer, just followed, silently, as they rode away from the jeering town. Luke felt the heat of her gaze on his back, not of hatred, but of something deeper. She didn't thank him. She didn't smile. But she stayed. And in that silence, Luke knew that saving her was only the beginning. There were men who wouldn't forgive him for what he'd done. And she, too, carried ghosts that would soon rise from the desert sands. Yet, as the sun sank behind them, Luke found himself glancing at her again. She sat tall, unbroken and beautiful in a way no gold could measure. He didn't know her name, but he knew one thing. His life had just changed forever. That night, the desert wind howled around Luke's small ranch. The wooden boards creaked as if whispering secrets of the past. Inside, the light of a single lantern flickered between them. The Apache woman sat near the fire, her eyes scanning the room with quiet distrust. Luke placed a tin cup of coffee in front of her, unsure if she'd take it. You got a name? He asked. Silence. She stared at the flames before finally speaking. Nayeli. Her voice was soft, but it carried strength, like a song sung on the edge of battle. Nayeli, Luke repeated quietly, nodding. You can stay here till you decide where to go. She didn't respond, but the faintest shift in her expression told him she was listening. Days passed, and an uneasy peace settled between them. Luke worked the land as always, mending fences and tending cattle, while Nayeli helped without being asked, fetching water, tending the fire, even stitching a torn saddle. She moved with grace, but there was always distance in her eyes, as if part of her still wandered the desert. Yet something was changing. Luke noticed it one evening when a storm rolled across the horizon. She stood outside, arms spread, letting the rain wash over her face. whispering words in Apache that Luke didn't understand but somehow felt. It was a prayer or maybe a goodbye. Then trouble came. 3 riders appeared on the ridge, men from Red Rock who hadn't forgotten the auction. They rode down to Luke's ranch with hate in their eyes. "You think you can take one of them and just walk away, Carver?" Their leader spat. Luke stepped onto the porch, his hand near his revolver. "Leave her be," the man sneered. "She ain't worth dying for." But Naeli had already stepped forward, her chin high, fearless. "I am not yours to take," she said, her accent thick but her words sharp as a knife. The man laughed until Luke's rifle cocked. "You heard her," Luke said coldly. The silence that followed was thick and dangerous. Then slowly the riders turned and rode away, muttering curses. The storm broke above them, lightning flashing across the dark sky. When it was over, Naeli turned to Luke. "You should not have done that," she whispered. "They will come again." "Then I'll be ready," Luke said simply. For a long moment, she just looked at him, this quiet man who had risked everything for a woman everyone else hated. "Why do you care?" she finally asked. Luke hesitated, then said, "Because once someone saved me when I wasn't worth saving." The firelight flickered across their faces. For the first time, Naeli smiled, a small, fragile smile that felt like sunrise after a long night. Months later, people still whispered about the quiet rancher who bought an Apache Woman for $5 and ended up finding something no man in Red Rock ever did: peace, love, and redemption beneath the same sky that once burned with hatred.